Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is Daily Drop number 324. We're going to skip across the pond today and check in on the epic idiot, the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family. Nigel Cawthorne has a new column out in the Express, and the question he's asking is, will Prince Andrew remain a full member of the royal family? According to Nigel Cawthorne, we should have that answer in 30 days. Now, you should remember Nigel Cawthorne from our previous conversations. He is a historian of the monarchy and an expert in the field of the royal family and the Queen. So we've talked about several different things he has stated, and he also has a book that he wrote that we've talked about previously. But this is a guy who definitely knows the royal family inside and out, certainly knows the royal family better than I could ever imagine knowing them. And he has had some pretty spot-on opinions about Prince Andrew and this whole entire situation that he got himself caught up in with Jeffrey Epstein. So let's jump into this article from the Express and see what Nigel Cawthorne, author of this article, has to say. Headline: Prince Andrew will know in 30 days if he is to remain a full member of the royal family. So what do you sometimes you're not a full member? What are you, like a bastardized version of the family? I don't get it. You get like papers revoked or something. I thought if you were born into the family, you're a full member. That's, we better hope that doesn't happen in the United States, because the way people are treating each other these days over here, you're going to end up out of your own family, right? You might not be a royal, but you're going to be at the black sheep table come holidays. So you better be careful if you want to stay a working member of your family out there, folks. Being the second son of the monarch is never easy. At best, you are propping up the monarchy. At worst, you are forever at the beck and call of both your parents and your older sibling. And that's why they say the spare and the heir, right? I read a lot of fantasy novels. I love that genre. And there's a lot of stuff, obviously, about monarchies, et cetera, in those kind of books. And you even see it in those sorts of books too, right? You see these second, third sons who are just, they wild out. They don't really pay attention in school. They figure that they're never going to be the king, so what does it matter? I'm just going to run around and act the fool. And you see that play out here pretty much in real life and in real time with the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family. Usually that's contained to the pages of a novel, right? To a book, but not in this case. Prince Harry decided it was not for him. Prince Andrew has been feuding with Prince Charles for influence ever since he turned 18. The Queen's father was lucky, although he saw it more as a heavy burden because he became king himself when his older childless brother abdicated. But what if you are the second son and you desperately want to carry on with your job of propping up the monarchy, but your mere presence attracts more negative headlines than flies to honey? Well, then you're probably Prince Andrew, because this idiot has brought this all on himself, right? Nobody forced him to go hang out with Jeffrey Epstein. What, did somebody have a gun to his head and said, look, you're going to hang out with Jeffrey Epstein, pal, you understand? No, literally, none of that occurred. Of his own choosing, he decided it was a good idea to run around with Jeffrey Epstein, because at the end of the day, what Jeffrey Epstein could do, what Jeffrey Epstein could provide him, was way more important than worrying about his image or the image of his family. So I don't really care about Prince Andrew not becoming being a working royal anymore, or his heavy burden for being the second born of the Queen. Are you kidding me? You want a heavy burden? I have a heavy burden for you. Try and wake up every single day, put on your boots, put on your hard hat, and actually go to work. All right? That's a heavy burden, okay? Not being the second born of the Queen. What an absolute bunch of BS. This, in a nutshell, is the predicament of Prince Andrew after he spoke in detail about his friendship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein on BBC Newsnight almost 12 months ago. Look, if it was just the friendship, I bet you he could have survived. I bet you people would have been willing to look the other way. I mean, George Stephanopoulos' bitch ass thought it was a good idea to go to Jeffrey Epstein's house for a dinner because, I guess I can meet Prince Andrew. Really? Big deal, dude. So you're going to go hang out with a convicted pedophile, a convicted sex offender because you want to meet Prince Andrew? Really? So, it's not just that, though. It is the credible allegations by Virginia that Andrew was involved in not only a friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, but he was also involved in, at the very least, sleeping with trafficked women. During the BBC interview, Andrew strenuously denied any allegations against him. He has consistently done so ever since they first surfaced in 2011. Yeah, well, not stringently enough. Look, if this guy would have come out from the very beginning and put all of his cards on the table, showed us the different logs, that's where he's at, where he was, there were people with him, people can corroborate his story, then it would be a different ballgame. We'd be having a different discussion right now. But none of that occurred. The only person that's brought receipts, the only person whose story has been corroborated so far in any sense of the imagination is Virginia's. What do you think, the prosecutors just made up these charges that Ghislaine got slapped with? Stop being naive. He was but it was Andrew's comments on other issues that created a very bad odor. Unwisely, Prince Andrew expressed no regret during the interview about the friendship, except maybe in the vaguest possible way. And not even that, it wasn't even vague. He wasn't sorry about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. He was sorry that he was outed. He was sorry that he was put on blast for it. If everything was equal and Epstein was never caught up in this second go-around, if Epstein had never been caught up the first time, what do you think, Prince Andrew would have been flying over the Atlantic to come do the honorable thing and break up with his boy? Hell no. Hell no. Because at the end of the day, remember, their image, their consolidation of power, and their hunger for more domination over the rest of us is what drives these people. It attracted stringent criticism from many in the media. During the interview, the prince also offered help to the FBI with its investigations into other participants in Epstein's sex ring, saying, "Of course I am willing to help any appropriate law enforcement agency with their investigations, if required." Well, where you at, dude? I don't want to hear any nonsense about, I offered to give a written statement. Nope, that's not good enough. That is not good enough. You should have came out a lot earlier, a lot sooner, and then maybe people would have been willing to give you the benefit of the doubt a little bit more. But from everything we have seen, all of the circumstantial evidence that has been provided, the email, Andrew emailing Ghislaine about questions about Virginia, the picture, how can anyone deny this? How can anyone deny the evidence that has been presented? The only way you could possibly deny this evidence is if you are suffering from a traumatic brain injury. It is a fact that almost a year on, we still don't know whether he has or has not shared any knowledge of his former friend with the FBI. That has become the magnet of the increasingly strident criticism the prince attracts. Well, we know from the prosecutor's office themselves that Andrew has not provided any help. Why should we listen to Prince Andrew and his handlers? They're in the business of making sure his image is refurbished. They're making sure that he's not tarnished. That's what they're looking for. They don't care about the survivors in this case. They don't care about none of that. And this guy, as far as speaking with the FBI, we have seen zero evidence of that. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Prince Andrew, aka the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family, has not spoken with the FBI yet. Earlier in the year, the Manhattan attorney leading the investigation said that Andrew had completely shut the door on cooperation. However, the claim was resolutely rejected out of hand by the prince's lawyers. Well, that's a wrap then. Let's listen to the prince's lawyers. I mean, we all know that these lawyers are just the greatest individuals in the world. We know that they are just bereft of the moral sense, and the way they conduct themselves it's impeccable. They would never ever be liars or manipulate the situation to try and get their client off, right? Come on, we all know that these lawyers, all of them for the most part, are the scum of the earth. Hell, look at Congress. It's populated by what? Lawyers and doctors, and give me a break already. All right? Enough with so-called polite society. I have had enough. A few months later, another twist followed nonetheless. U.S. Attorney General William Darth Barr disclosed on Fox News in an extraordinary statement he had sent an official request under the U.S.-UK Mutual Legal Assistance Treaty to Home Secretary Priti Patel, requiring her help in obtaining evidence from the prince. And that was pretty much a blockbuster, right? To hear that. We usually don't hear that kind of stuff coming from the Just Us department. And that's what I call them. Not the Justice Department, the Just Us Department. That means they're only worried about themselves, right? Making sure that they look good, making sure that the public doesn't think that they're screwing up, and they'll do whatever they can at all costs to make sure that occurs. But the Just Us Department hardly ever shows their hand, right? So they must have something going on here with Prince Andrew. They must have some sort of strategy that they're following if they're calling him out in public like this, because it definitely veers away from the normal. It appeared that Donald Trump's administration agreed with the Manhattan attorney and had waived the confidentiality that is usually wrapped around such requests. Again, very weird, right? Very odd. And I wonder why the current administration would be okay with that. What does Barr have up his sleeve? Look, I don't trust the guy. I've told you guys that from the beginning. He reminds me of like a retread coach in the NFL. How many times do we have to have Wade Wilson as a head coach in the NFL? Same shit with Darth Barr. When Princess Beatrice married in July, the prince did not appear in his own daughter's wedding pictures. Town and Country magazine in the U.S. wrote bluntly that it underlined that the prince no longer belongs as a public face of the British monarchy. Well, yeah, that goes without saying. Look, this guy has to clear his name. That's the only way back. If we were in the old days, this guy would be locked in the Tower of London for the rest of his life, or literally sent to whatever the farthest flung shit post outwater place that the empire had. He'd be there, stationed as some sort of Lord Governor or something. So he's getting off lucky that we're in modern times, right? Because in the old days, forget it. He wouldn't even be worthwhile to the royal family. What is he, eighth in line of succession now? Yeah, he's definitely disposable in the old days. For some protesters, the question whether Andrew has or has not cooperated became a reason for focusing their horror at Epstein's misdeeds on rallies in front of the gates of Buckingham Palace. And again, we talked about that, but head nod, kudos, cap tip to all you folks in London who got down and were out there rallying and yelling for justice, because guess what? They don't want to listen when we speak quietly. So, I guess it's time to raise our voices. The anniversary of the BBC interview on 18th of November may well form the point of no return for Prince Andrew. All things being equal, if it is still not clear to the public whether the prince has spoken to the FBI, it is hard to see how he can return to being an active royal. Yeah, that's absolutely right. He can't come back and be an active royal. Are you kidding me? Nobody's gonna sit around and be okay with that. And the people of London are pissed. They don't want to pay for this guy's travel. They don't want this guy tarnishing their monarchy. They don't want this face all over the news. It's disgusting. And people of character and people who are decent humans don't want to be associated with it. There is some evidence that Buckingham Palace, too, has doubts about Prince Andrew's usefulness for the monarchy. Andrew's personal website, thedukeofyork.org, and its separate pages for his two daughters was a twin to his brother's website, princeofwales.gov.uk. However, today the site merely refers to a single page on his mother's website, royal.uk/the-duke York / whereas Charles still controls his own website. Well, yeah, we knew that happened, right? They took that website down right away. He got knocked out of his patronages, all the other jazz, and look, all signs point to this guy, at the very least, they're giving the appearance that he is no longer welcome as part of the royal family. That is the appearance that they're giving, at least. Is that really what's going on? Well, that remains to be seen. In August, it is widely reported in the media that the Queen's website had quietly dropped links to Andrew's Twitter and Instagram pages on its homepage. What does the future look like for the prince? The social media uncoupling by Buckingham Palace mirrors those of the Sussexes who agreed not to use their HRH titles after leaving for America. So, these two, the Meghan and her husband, I forget his name, whatever his name is, they leave to come to America, and since they want to move to America, well, they have to get rid of their royal titles. They can't have those no more. But Prince Andrew can hang out with Jeffrey Epstein, allegedly take part in the sex trafficking ring himself, and this clown is still hanging out at the castle? He's not in Timbuktu yet? It raises the question whether, like the Sussexes, Andrew may soon promise not to use his HRH title and withdraw from the royal family's public life to retire like his father, Prince Philip. If there is one thing where Andrew has been unwavering in, it's his support for his two daughters, even to the point of not appearing in Princess Beatrice's public wedding pictures. Well, that's probably a good thing. I mean, if he cared about his daughters that much, though, why did he use them as an alibi of where he was when he was at that Belgravia townhouse and that tramp? If he was such a good guy, he would have never brought his daughters up in that situation. No public statement has been made about the reasons why, but such a decision would have been difficult for any proud father. If there is one thing from writing his biography, it is that Prince Andrew is the consummate courtier, and he knows when it is time to pull in one's horns. Obviously not. Obviously not. All right? This guy has terrible judgment. He has a terrible sense of the people he's around, and he truly does not care. At least from his actions, he does not care about the regular person, okay? After a few intemperate comments that were reported earlier in the year, he has stopped making waves in the media. This is a very different Andrew from the one who for 40 years resisted his older brother's greater power as the presumptive heir. Where Charles was dependable and dutiful, Andrew enjoyed his more raffish public persona. It is, however, very important to remember that the prince has never once in his life let the queen down. Oh, he hasn't? What do you call this? This isn't letting the queen down? I already told you, my mom would have dragged me to the FBI office by my ear, beating my paisano ass the whole way with a wooden spoon, okay? So don't tell me this guy hasn't let his mother down. This whole entire thing is a huge letdown, and it's been going on for a near decade and a half. He fought bravely in the Falklands War, risking his own life for the protection of the realm without hesitation. Yeah, no doubt, and he was so traumatized by a couple of rounds from a .22 or something that whizzed by his helicopter that he couldn't sweat anymore. Give me a break. Soon, Andrew will be a grandfather, and another generation will join his family. A new clue as to what lies ahead will come on Remembrance Sunday on November 8th. If he isn't there, his absence will tell its own tale. Yeah, you know what? Look, we will see. I have the date marked on the calendar now, and we will see what occurs. But I honestly don't think that anybody, anywhere in the world, is going to accept Prince Andrew, a.k.a. the Joe Exotic, as a working royal and shove down our throats. I think that ship has sailed. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. And we also now have the Facebook page for the show. So if you'd like to pop in over there and keep the conversation going, the link will be in the description box with the rest of the links that go with this episode. All right, everybody, I will be back tomorrow morning and we will start this process all over again. Enjoy your Friday, folks.